me for hold this L.
Hold this L.
Hold this L.
Welcome to Hold This L with your host Lonnie and Cappel. We got a good show for you today. Lonnie, how you doing, man? How's your weekend going?
Man, going good, man. Just ready to get this day going.
Yeah, I feel you. It's gonna be a busy day for me. I just got back to work, and man, this is during the So I'm in education for those of y'all that don't know, and normally I'm an assistant principal, so I don't have like the full summer off like most teachers. I have about a month off, but being at home working during COVID for 4 months, you talking about trying to go back to like in the building, I guess a whole different like kind of a whole different ball game. Being at work, at home, and then you know being able to kind of lounge and do things at a different pace compared to like getting up every morning, get back to my normal routine. Yeah, that's difficult, but I'm adjusting. But yeah, today gonna be definitely a preparation day because we got things going on. But anyways, enough about that. That's boring. That's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about some sports.
Yes,
We
sir.
got some good NBA action to talk about. We got some serious things to talk about because we 1 week away from playoffs. You been enjoying the this week of basketball, man?
I've been enjoying most of it. I haven't been too happy with my Lakers looking like, having a little lull. Don't get me wrong, I was happy to see them clinch that first seed, but it seemed like after we clinched that one seed, we kind of put it on cruise control. So I hadn't been too happy about that. I still want to see them playing well in chemistry, but hey, we'll get to that soon.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm not. I'm still on the breaks. I'm not full fledged worried yet. I feel like they got about 3 games left, and if they turned it up these last couple games to make sure they got their chemistry going, then I'll be like, okay, they ready for the playoffs. I noticed LeBron, he's had his first really good offensive game, so that's a
Hmm.
sign. But at the same time, AD had two terrible offensive games. What I don't like about and this is what I don't like about AD. I think talent wise, he's a top five talent, but I would not name him a top five player because when he is the number one player, for whatever reason, he cannot have a team flourish. When they played, against who was the team they played against? Houston. Like that was his time to show that he could be the number one option with the same people that he normally is playing with outside of LeBron and Caruso. But I mean, to me, Caruso, while he's a great addition on defense, he's not somebody that you feel like you need to have on the team to win a game. And he just completely, he did not play well. You know what I mean? He and I don't worry about that with LeBron, but for those people, like I say, I'm not a true Lakers fan. I like the Lakers, but I'm a LeBron fan. But I feel for the Lakers fans, if he doesn't adjust his game to become more of a leader when LeBron leaves, because he's going to be the face of that team for years to come. And
Yeah.
if he's the number one option, that he got to get that mentality together, man. He got to get it together. But
Yeah, well, one of the things that I did pay attention to in that game, and it makes it even difficult for him or any superstar for that matter, is nobody else was hitting shots either. So, when you got a lot of wide open shots, you got shooters, which he was creating a lot of good shots for other players. When you're not hitting them, makes it even harder for him. Because people are doubling on him, tripling on him, and they leaving those guys wide open because they had no faith in them. I mean, none whatsoever. Um, I was kind of happy last night watching the game. Quinn Cook is somebody that I think is probably going to be pretty important for us come playoff time. He does have some playoff experience with Golden State and stuff like that. And I mean, he was on fire yesterday. I mean, like you said, LeBron finally had a shooting game. Everybody else played terrible except Quinn Cook. Quinn Cook had a great shooting game too. I mean, he was killing it. He was looking good from three. We gonna need that production. We need those guys to be able to shoot from three because I mean that's what our team is built around. I mean, if you really think about it, a lot of people say LeBron needs 3-point shooters around him, based off his game. Well, I think it's kind of correlates the same with AD too. I think you need shooters around him, and for AD to be successful, you have to be able to shoot the ball. If you're not making threes and you're not hitting shots, I don't think AD is going to be successful because they're going to clog the lane on it.
But see, that's not how I saw the game that day. The way I saw the game is AD was going a lot of one-on-one, and he kicked it out when he didn't have a shot. I didn't see him driving to create opportunities to pass the ball to other players. The lane was being clogged. He was trying to post up, and then when he was trying to go one-on-one, they clogged the lane, and then he tried to kick it out. Those players didn't have the same. They don't have that same rhythm like they have with LeBron, who's an actual point guard. They're posting up knowing I'm about to get the ball. They're watching AD, and then they getting the ball. It's not the same kind of chemistry. There was no rotation. The ball didn't move the same. It was a different. The offense is not running the same. He's not LeBron, so I'm not trying to put that on him. He's not a
Right,
point
right.
guard. But at the same time, your offense has to be able to run efficiently when LeBron's not there. So him as a number one player, he has to play different. Whether it's that high pick and roll game and he gets that going, it has to be something. It just, and maybe that their foot is off the pedal. Like I said, maybe they foot off the gas because they got the first seed. They wasn't really worried. I mean, who knows? That motivation may not be there right now because they know the games don't mean a thing. They got the first seed, but
Yeah.
you know, like I
And I,
said,
and that's
we'll
and
we'll
that's kind
see.
of what I think. I think that has a lot to do with it too, bro. I really think that has a lot to do with it. I don't think he's playing as aggressively either because we all know AD injury prone, and if we know it, he know it too. So I don't think he's giving maximum effort to. I think he want to be fully ready for the playoffs because he did show us. We got a little glimpse in those first couple of games when LeBron wasn't playing well. That he could carry the team that he can do it. He can be that number one guy if he needs to. I think LeBron, honestly, through this bubble, has been trying to make him be the number one guy. So when playoff time do come, even though LeBron gonna activate LeBron mode, he still can have AD with that number one mentality.
Yeah,
Because we know what's gonna happen when the playoffs start. We know who's gonna be the number one guy. But to
yeah.
go ahead and get AD having that feel of being the number one will make it even just that much easier for him when it does get going.
Yeah, I sure hope you're right, man. I sure hope you're right. I mean, I like I say, I'm not really worried about it. I just noticed that, and we were supposed to start the show at a different topic, but I guess since I start going into the Lakers, and we might as well go with that topic first, and then follow on with the other ones. So you brought up like the only person that shot well yesterday was LeBron and Quinn Cook, and one of the things that has happened throughout these playoffs. I mean, not playoffs, but in the bubble, is the team as a whole have not been shooting well. So their shooting has been really down, and they're in the first, and they got the first seed, and so they're gonna play the A seed, and that A seed is starting to look like it's gonna be the Portland Trailblazers, and I was worried about that from the beginning because that is not an 8 seed team with Nurkic, and it's already showing. Now I don't think the Lakers are gonna lose. But that's a hell of a matchup for the first round, and with the Lakers shooting woes and then the Trailblazers being the A seed, look like they're gonna be the A seed. Like, I mean, let's just talk about the Lakers shooting roles. We kind of talked about it a little bit, but like, what's your thoughts on that, man?
I mean, it does have me a little concerned, but I will say this: I was a lot less concerned after the game last night. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, the person that I was concerned about when it comes to those shooting woes is LeBron,
Yeah,
and I feel like when he is the catalyst. He's the one when it comes down to it. He's gonna get everybody else in rhythm. He's gonna get everybody else going, and that's usually what he does. He tries to get everybody else going initially, but the team, we know every team that he's ever been on feeds off of him.
yeah,
So when you see him shooting 3 for 16, it can do something. It can do something to your mental. He's if LeBron's not shooting well, as great as he has as he is at creating space and facilitating for other people, if he's not shooting the ball well, it tends to have people back off of him, which means it's a lot easier to compensate for the other players. All your attention is not on him. You will make him shoot. When he's shooting 3 for 16, they backing off of that 3 point line, a little bit, and just making him work a little harder. So seeing him shoot the way he shot last night makes me not worry about it as much because we know when it comes to the role players, that most of them are tricky. We need to be consistent. As long as those two are consistent, we got a chance.
yeah. So I see things a little bit different. I never was worried about LeBron because he just has always shown that when it's time to play, he's ready to play, and I'm more worried about the role players because his history has shown that when he's not done well in the playoffs or when he's lost in the finals, because most of his playoff appearances have been in the finals within these last 10, 11, 12 years or whatever, it's not his play that suffers. It's the other people on his team that don't hit shots, that don't come to the party. People always want to say LeBron. People always want to talk down on the comment when people say LeBron didn't have no help. LeBron didn't have no help. We're not meaning that he don't have people on his team that are quality players. When people say LeBron didn't have no help, what they're meaning is the people on the team didn't show up. That's what
Right.
people are talking about. So when you go back and look at those games, LeBron shows up at every game. Even games where his shooting percentages are lower, he is still creating for other people to get very quality, very high percentage shots. And more often than not, they're not showing up. I heard Reggie Miller say, no, Kenny, no, Reggie Miller, he was talking about how all you need is one role player to play well every game. If you have a deep team, which the Lakers do have a deep team, not as deep as the Clippers, but they do have a deep team. Between Danny Green, KCP, JR, Dion, Waiters, Quinn Cook, you just said, Alex Caruso, Marcus Moore, between all those role players who have talent, who have throughout their careers have shown that they can make plays at the right time as role players. If one of them shows up per game, then the Lakers probably are going to win because you count on LeBron doing his thing, you count on AD doing his thing. But if one of those role players are able to show up, then you count on them to win. And the role players is what's bothering me because while LeBron and AD may take their foot off the gas, those role players are not turn it on, turn it off. I mean, turn it off, turn it on players.
Right.
That's why they're role players. So it would make me feel better if I saw those role players hitting shots, but maybe LeBron having some off nights and he's not doing well. AD's not doing well, having some off nights, but those role players are still doing what they do. So I'm a little bit worried from that aspect of their shooting because they have been a very good shooting team throughout the season. And since we've been in this bubble, them boys they've been bricking. It's been bad. But
Yeah. Yeah.
the Trailblazers, man, are they for real? Hell yes. They are for real. They are good. People forget that they were in the Western Conference Finals last year. They didn't give them a chance because they were going against the Golden State Warriors. But who did give them a chance? Kevin Durant was still playing at that time. You know, they had their team strong. So nobody gave them a
And
chance.
Nurkic had got hurt by then.
If they would have made it to, if Durant wouldn't have got hurt and Klay Thompson wouldn't have got hurt. So the Trailblazers, I mean, they are for real. People need to give them the respect. I hate the fact that we are going to be seeing probably in the playoffs. What's your thoughts, man?
Oh man, they're scary. Very, very, very scary, man. Like you said, even last year in the Western Conference Finals, I don't think they had Nurkic. I
You're
think
right.
Nurkic was hurt. I think Nurkic
You're
had
right.
broke his leg by then, and they still got to the Western Conference Finals. And anybody who's been paying attention to this bubble sees what Nurkic means to that team, how valuable he is. Nurkic is an all-star. And I mean, the dude he's the truth. I mean, he come back off of the long layoff that he had and basically made Hassan Whiteside a nobody. And keep in mind, Hassan Whiteside was, I think, second in the league in rebounds, leading the league in blocks. I mean, he was having a hell of a year. And Nurkic come back, and it's like Hassan Whiteside who, and just watching Portland, Dame Lillard, we know what he can do, man. When the lights are big, he comes to play. So I'm a little bit of afraid of it. I think it's gonna be a match, man. It's a match
Yeah.
that I wasn't looking forward to having in the first round of the playoffs. Nobody's looking forward to having in the first round of the playoffs because they're gonna test us. They're gonna test us big time. The only thing that I do have a lot of confidence about is there's nobody on the Portland Trail Blazers team that can mess with AD or LeBron. So to me, that is the good thing. Defensively, they're not considered a good defensive team. And when you look at what they do have and the way we match up with them, as far as Dame Lillard and McCollum, I see them just killing it. Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee can give Nurkic problems. Down low. I think they really can. Are they going to stop him? No, he's just a monster. But we can definitely give him problems. But I see nobody messing with AD or LeBron on Portland's team.
Yeah, offensive. I mean, as far as defense goes, LeBron, they're not gonna stop the Lakers. The part that I say bothers me, not bothers me, worries me a little bit is that the fact that Nurkic can shoot. He can shoot outside. He can stretch the court. And if he has his shot going, he's stretching the court, then it won't be JaVale McGee or Dwight Howard to have to contend with because they're going to pull him off the court and they're going to go small. And I say small as if AD is a small. He's not small. He's a damn near 7-footer. But he will be at the center position, and they're gonna go small at the other positions. That's probably what's gonna happen if Nurkic.
Right.
But I think they're gonna play it by ear. They're not gonna just go into that. I think they're gonna play it by ear because Nurkic does have a back to the basket game, and he's not always shooting good from the outside. It's just every now and then he has that shot going. He's not like Jokic, which is why they got rid of Nurkic because Jokic. He's an outside shooter, and he plays with his back to the basket. So I agree with you 100%. Defensive wise, that's the Lakers' advantage because they have the number 2 defense in the league as far as statistics go. I know number 1 is Milwaukee. I think the Lakers are number 2, and definitely at the center position, they're number 1. So. I don't think we're gonna lose. It's just that when you think 1-8 seed, you're like, okay, this is gonna be a cakewalk. No, it's not gonna be a cakewalk.
No.
And I got a theory. All right, I got a theory. Check this out. The Clippers didn't play Kawhi yesterday against Portland because of the back-to-back. But instead of playing him against Portland, which makes sense because that's a really good team, they sat him, and he's gonna play against Brooklyn. Why do you think that is? Let me tell you my thoughts. Because they were okay losing that game. Like, as a coach, I don't think you're ever going to say we're going to lose. But I think as a coach, you strategically play minutes and you do things a certain way, strategy-wise. I think Doc Rivers and the Clippers organization was okay with Portland beating them because it would solidify that Portland get that 8 seed, which makes it more of a chance that they knock the Lakers out of the playoffs. That to me, that makes sense because what doesn't make sense to me is you playing against Portland, you still can lose the 2nd seed. You can drop down like that 2 through 5 or 6. They won a game apart all the way through. Like I think the number 5 or 6 seed is one game from the Clippers. Like that's how close all that is. So you in danger of going from 2 to 6 if you really have a losing streak in this bubble. But you sit your best player, some people think is the best player in the league. Some people, and then he's arguably the best defensive player in the league. You sit him against the Portland Trailblazers, one of the top offensive teams, one of the hottest teams in the bubble, and then you're gonna play him against Brooklyn. And then you sat Paul George throughout the stretch of that game as well. Paul George only played 28 minutes. When the Clippers actually won that game, but Paul George didn't play the last 6 minutes. Talking about load management.
Yeah, this is the thing. And I'm gonna say this as if I was Doc Rivers. If you came to me as the Clippers coach and said, look, make you a deal. You're gonna have to be the 5 seed. But for that to happen, with that happening, the Lakers won't be in the playoffs. Sign me up. I'll take that 5 seed. I'm good. Let's do it. Yeah, I'm the 5 seed. Lakers not in the playoffs. Let's do it. So no, absolutely. You know that has something to do with it, man. And we, giving the credit to Doc Rivers and all them, and not saying they want to win, but they smart. Jerry West running that team, they all smart. They know what they're doing. That was not on accident. It was completely on purpose. Exactly. Everybody is following and seeing what's going on. So believe you me, they knew what they were doing.
And then they asked Paul George at the end, about him not playing down the stretch. He kind of smirked and said, "Oh yeah, it's load management. If it was really load management, you would have just finished that game out, and then you would have sat against Brooklyn, and then Kawhi would have played. That way, y'all would have had both a full day off." Because that's what they have done in the past. That's what they've done throughout the year. One plays, the other sits, then one sits, the other plays. But no, load management, get the hell out of here. And then the little smirk told it all. And before we move on, I definitely want to bring up this little Twitter beef or social media beef between Dame, Pat Beverly, and Paul George. Have you seen that or heard about that?
I did. I read a little bit on it yesterday. Yes, I did.
Hey, I ain't gonna lie, Dame got him. So just to give background info for those that are listening, don't know what I'm talking about. Down the stretch with seconds left to go, Damian Lillard was on the free throw line. You know, Damian Lillard is one of the clutch players. I honestly, I would argue that Damian Lillard may be the most clutch player in the NBA right now. Just going back and looking at what he's done in the playoffs and sending several people home on buzzer beaters, not like with 10 seconds left to go, game over, 0 on the clock, buzzer beaters. He's done that
Right.
a few times to major teams. Um, and you know, he does this little thing where he tap his watch and he's like, "That's Dame time, like time for him to shine or whatever." So he missed a free throw, and something that's not characteristic of him. Pat Bev and Paul George on the bench laughing, tapping their wrists, talking about Dame time, mocking him and stuff like that. And the reporters asked David Lillard about it, and I'm paraphrasing, but he basically was saying, "Oh, you know, I ain't worried about that at all. I see that as a sign of respect. Like those, like I've sent Pat Bev home, I've sent Paul George home. So, you know, I see that as a sign of respect. You know, if anything, y'all should be asking them how I feel to go through that because of what I did to them." I was like, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, man, Dave, that's my new best friend right there. Because that's how you answer that question. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, did you hear what else he said about Paul George? He said, while you sitting there talking, you the one jumping from team to team
Yeah, on the
instead of
comments,
being,
exactly. On the
yeah.
comments, because
Hey, bro.
Paul George he felt the need to comment after on because Dame Lillard comments were live, and then Paul George felt the need to comment on social media, and then that's when you know Pat Bev jumped in and said, you know, 1, 2, 3, go Cancun or something like that, because you know that's what they be saying when they don't make it to the playoffs when they get kicked out, and
Right,
then
right.
you know, like you just said, Dame Lillard came back. It was like, you know, you jump from team to team, you boys chumps. I'm like, man, I like that though, bro. I
Hey,
like
because
it. I
think
love it.
about it. Hey, Paul George, you have no reason to say nothing. You do realize that's the same dude that knocked you out the playoffs last year, hit a couple of big shots in your face to send you home, and then you jumped him. He made you go to the Clippers.
Exactly. Then dismiss you with the bye bye.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? I'm like, so I ain't gonna lie. I love that. I mean, I like the way he answered that question. I'm like, yeah, that's how you answer. That's how you boss that.
And he can back it up.
Nice. Exactly. He has backed it up. You know, his
Right,
history. If he
right,
never does it again, he can say it for the rest of his life because he did it not just once. He did it multiple times.
right.
Um, but now that we on to the Clippers, let's talk about the Clippers because their chemistry ain't been that great either. I know they had one really good game, and that was against New Orleans. That's when they just was hitting all those threes, and they was just like the whole team was on sync. But outside of that, they hadn't played great. They played decent against Phoenix, who's been lighting it up. Phoenix is undefeated. They won again last night. Did they beat the Miami Heat last night? I think they did beat the Miami Heat. I have to check, but I know prior to that they was undefeated. They are making a run for that number 8 seed, um, but that's another conversation. But the Clippers' chemistry has not been that great. You know what I'm saying? I I I, I don't really. I mean, when you look at Lou Williams just coming back, you look at Montrezl Harrell still out. You know, you can always say they don't really have a full team. You know, so they making adjustments. You could say that. Okay, I think that's fair. But when you got the reigning NBA Finals MVP. You have a superstar in Paul George. You have Pat Bev, who's all world defensively. You got good role players. Lou Williams is back. You know, Marcus Morris. I mean, Marquise. Which one is it? Markeith? I forget. But one of the
Marcus,
more
Marcus.
Marcus Morris. He's been there the whole time. Um, you know, they and so I feel like their chemistry should still be there. Like if you're telling me that they can't win because Montrezl Harrell is out, then you're telling me they're not a championship team. So I don't buy that as an excuse. But their chemistry is not there. I know people have them as the favorite. A lot of people have them as the favorite. I think even the odds in Vegas have them as the favorite, which I don't agree with. But their chemistry is not there, and I feel like their chemistry is different than the Lakers' chemistry. So I think the way they're playing is something to worry about going into the playoffs if they don't get it together within these next 3 games.
Honestly, I'm not too worried about the Clippers, man. Just what I saw, they haven't had chemistry. They haven't really played to the level we know they can play, and they're still winning. Um, do I think that can be a concern going deep into the playoffs? Yeah, but I mean, you tell me the first and second round, which I think will allow them to get allow them to get their chemistry along with the last couple of games in the bubble. I don't see it being a problem until they get deep into the playoffs, and by then I think everybody will be back and they'll be able to try to figure out some type of chemistry. But because we all know what's going on with Montrezl Harrell, he lost his grandmother.
Yep.
When the playoffs start, he'll be back. He's taking his time. I'd be very surprised not to see him come back first round of the playoffs. Maybe even second round because they may not even need him.
But he'll definitely be back. I definitely believe he'll be back. That's something though. That's like you have to take into account how he may play. People, are affected a lot different when it comes to dealing with death in the family. Some people they thrive, and then some people they're not mentally ready. That's
Right.
why they
Well,
need that time. So
yeah, and the thing is, I think he'll be okay there because he's been off for a month.
well,
A month with it.
The time that he's off to me doesn't dictate how well he's going to deal with it when he comes back into the bubble, because he's with family, he's with people that are supporting him. To me, I mean, and that's why everybody's different. But to me, it would make more sense to go back into the bubble away from family to give yourself some time to get your mind right outside of being with those people who are going through the same thing you're going through. Because it's like when you have that support system and then you leave it for the first time after going through something, now you have to adjust on your own. Even though
Right.
you got a new support system, those are just people that are like they're friends, but they're not going through it with you. So but again, everybody's different. Like the time that he's with his family may be the time that he needs to get his mind right. Everybody's different. You just really don't know how somebody's going to react, how they're going to, react. I say react, but how they're going to be able to deal. But not counting that, I think that the Clippers actually have more to worry about potentially than the Lakers in the first round. So if the first round started today, they good. They playing the Dallas Mavericks. I like Dallas. Doncic is a beast. Chris Tapps is a beast, but they don't have enough. I would see the Clippers beating them in 5. Let's say the Clippers dropped to any of those other positions. If they dropped into any of those positions, they're either playing Houston, Utah, Denver, OKC. I'm sorry, but I don't think that's a given that they're going to beat any of those teams like straight up without having any doubts, except for maybe Utah. Because Utah, to me, they still don't have enough to be really considered
Yeah.
like a front runner. But Denver, one step away from being in the finals when they're playing against Portland. And then they're better this year. Michael Porter Jr., oh my God. We're going to get to him in a second when we talk about Daly. But OKC is smashing right now. They are playing good ball. They match up well against a team like the Clippers, in my personal opinion,
Hmm.
because they play defense and they slow the ball down and they got good movement. They have several people that can score on their starting 5. That kid Lucas Dortz, who's been playing since Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, has been playing a little bit more. He's playing well, but he's playing well off the bench anyways. They got their defensive stalwart back in Andre Robertson. They have the recipe to upset somebody, you know. And then you look at
Hmm.
Houston. The Clippers don't want to play Houston in the first round. Most people still have the Clippers as the favorite, but who wants to play Houston in the first round? That's the team you want to play when it's like, okay, now we got the championship against this team. Not in the
Right.
first round.
Right.
So the Clippers could potentially have better, worse matchups than the Lakers if they don't get their act together and make sure they get this number 2 seed.
No, I agree, and man. And just to kind of throw this out there, that's the team people should be worried about in the West.
The Rockets.
OKC.
OKC.
No,
Oh yeah.
OKC. Because I'm gonna tell you something. I don't think the Rockets or the Clippers want to see OKC. Chris Paul got a little vendetta on his shoulder right now, man. And I'm gonna tell you, whoever run up against Chris Paul in these playoffs, he gonna be a nightmare. He
Oh,
is
oh,
out with something to prove, and he is gonna bring it, bro. Like I talk about all the role players, man. I was talking to somebody earlier this week. When people don't realize, man, OKC good. OKC got 3 players averaging 19 plus points a game. Gallinari, Gilgeous-Alexander, and Schroeder coming off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to go along with Chris Paul, Steven Adams, Jeremy Grant. Not Jeremy Grant. I'm sorry, he played for the Nuggets now. But just their team in general.
Nerlens.
No, Nerlens. They have a really, really, really good team, man. They're balanced. They're very, very, they play good defense. They're well balanced on offense. And you got Chris Paul running the show. And let me tell you something. He got it on his mind. If you've been watching this bubble, Chris Paul got it on his mind.
OKC been showing out. They've been playing. They didn't beat the Lakers. I can't remember the other people, but they didn't beat some good teams. And they beat them convincingly.
Bruh, I know here in this bubble, you've been able to hear the audio a little bit better. Yeah. Bruh, did you see the Lakers game?
I didn't see
Did you not? Bruh, LeBron was at the free throw line because they beat him by 19. Yeah. LeBron is at the free throw line. You can hear Chris Paul saying, "Hey, y'all box out." He said, "Y'all get down the court, get down the court." He never missed 2 in a row. He had missed the first free throw. He's like, he never missed 2 in a row. He never missed 2 in a row. Make sure y'all get back. He gonna hit this one. He bricked it. And that's his godchild's godfather. Chris Paul was missing, bro. I just thought that was hilarious. With that, he was talking that stuff like, "Oh, he never missed. Then he clanked it, and they went back up the court and scored. I was like, bro, that Chris Paul a trip, man.
Yeah, all fair and competition.
Right.
Exactly. Well, yeah, you're right, man. OKC, like people, they're not a sexy pick. They're not a sexy team. But if you watch them play, you realize that they are a good team, and they definitely are a threat to upset somebody. Hell, I hope the Lakers don't face them, to be honest with you. I will hope that the Lakers face teams like Portland. To me, is a good matchup for them. Portland plays well, but I'm not really worried. But at the same time, that's still a tough matchup. But they not a good defensive team. You put the Lakers up against a good team, a team that don't play defense, they're gonna win every time. Because when it comes to crunch time, their defense is gonna show up. So I'm not really worried about them playing the Rockets. I'm not worried about them playing the Trailblazers. But against a team like OKC, that's a little bit more of a challenge because they play real defense. Like right. they rotations are on point. They communicate well. They have like good ball help. I mean, they got a big man who can play. The good thing about Steven Adams is you can't stretch the floor with him like with AD and think that, okay, now we're going to have a small ball lineup, because even though he doesn't stretch the floor on offense, he can play you at the 3-point line.
Yes.
He plays defense very well outside of the paint. And then if he's not doing well, guess what? Nerlens Noel can come in and move just as good, and he's even better as far as shot blocking goes. So they got a good team. They're definitely somebody that I hope the Clippers play them, because to me that might be the upset that we But anyways, it don't really matter. But yeah. So moving on, we got some injuries to discuss, and it's not a lot of injuries in the bowl, but there are 2 main injuries. One really, really serious as far as the team we're talking about. And that's Ben Simmons. He had to leave the bubble to go get some kind of knee procedure. How does that affect the 76ers moving forward?
Big time. I saw him play. I watched a little bit of the game without him, and they just look different. They're missing that pass, and he's the facilitator. He gets people open. He makes the shots easier for everybody else. And you could just tell not having him on the floor just made it a lot harder for everybody else. And the only chance I give them without Ben Simmons is Embiid got to turn into a 30 and 15 guy. And when I say 30 and 15, no jump shots, no 3-pointers. You need to be shooting 15, 20 shots in the paint. They got to play inside out. That's the only chance Philadelphia has with no Ben Simmons, because he dislocated his kneecap. They said he was going to have he left the bubble to go have surgery. I mean, any type of knee surgery, anybody who's had any type of knee surgery, any kind of scope, anything done, he's not coming back soon. They'll be lucky if they get him back in like the Eastern Conference Finals or Western Conference or Finals in general. He ain't coming back in the next month. You're not going to have him. He getting his knee cut on. I mean, so even if it's a small procedure, the rehab and the stuff that he's going to have to go through, it's just not going to be quick. So, I mean, I worry about Philadelphia if they cannot change who they are as far as a team. They're going to, a lot of people say, I'm sure you've heard it too, where they'll say, Philadelphia will be better if you get rid of one or the other.
No.
Take Joel Embiid off the team and let Ben Simmons run it, or vice versa. Take him off the team, let Embiid run it. Well, we're about to find out.
Yeah, so I agree with you 100%. What really they need to be saying is the team will run better. Instead of saying the team will run better if you get rid of one or other, you should say the team will run better if they get rid of the coach, because Brett Brown is not the coach that they need to ascend to being a real contender. I know I made my picks earlier and I gave Philadelphia the Eastern Conference champ. That's not looking too good, but I'm not going away from my pick because that was my pick. But even with Ben Simmons, me and you kind of talking about it last week, and I was like, I don't like the way they're playing. They look a lot like they were always looking, and I'm still standing by that, because this is the problem with the 76ers. It's a problem that Ben Simmons is gone, but they actually may look more like a team with Ben Simmons gone. Let me explain. Ben Simmons, they moved him to the power forward position, but Ben Simmons never stopped bringing the ball up the court. And that's the reason why they look like the same team. Even after last week, after we talked about this, and your comments were true. At the time when you were saying, hey, Shake Milton just started, they didn't let him have the ball in his hands a lot, give him a few games to get it together. I don't think it's up to Shake Milton. It's up to Brett Brown to make sure that the offense runs the way it's supposed to run with Shake Milton as the point guard. So Ben Simmons was still bringing the ball up the court. He was still the one running the pick and roll that doesn't really work that well with him because he won't shoot the ball. You know, with Shake Milton running the point for real now, and Ben Simmons being out, they're going to probably look like a more offensively fluid team because Shake Milton can shoot the ball. So coming off that high pick and roll, you have to honor it. You have to honor Shake Milton. You have to rotate. You have to switch, and it is going to make them look like they're a better offensive team. The problem, so people are going to say, see, blah 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 blah. They look better, but the thing is if Brett Brown let Shake Milton be the point guard and let Ben Simmons play the power forward, like he put them in, like he said he was going to do, and that would have made them a team that can function better together. Because Ben Simmons can still catch the ball, distribute in the paint. He can still catch the ball on the wing, distribute as he drives to the goal. He can still play with his back to the basket. He plays well with his back to the basket. Like those things could have been the case, but that's not what they did. So I don't. I definitely expect to hear the noise and the rumblings that they play better with. They're playing better as an offensive team without Ben Simmons. I definitely expect to hear that, but I also don't expect them to do anything in the playoffs with Ben Simmons or without. They're still my pick because I made them, but unless some kind of miracle happens and they get some type of offensive fluidity that just gets them going, then they're not going far at all. And as far as Embiid, you absolutely right. He has to turn into a 30 and 15 guy, and he has to play with his back to the basket. They have to play inside out. And the reason why that's important is because if you're a big man and you hitting shots outside, you're not wearing down the defense. You're not slowing down the clock. You're not making it a half court game. If you're a big man, as big as Embiid is, he will have those boys in foul trouble. They will have to double him. He'll be able to kick the ball out, giving them wide open shots where people like Shake Milton can hit him, Tobias Harris can hit him, J.J. Redick can hit him, Furkan Korkmaz can hit him. Like those boys can actually shoot the ball. So that's how you create shots for them is play inside out, kill them down low, wear them down. They gonna foul or you're gonna get easy shots because you're too big. They can't guard you. And
Right.
then once they start fouling, once they start getting tired, once they start trying to double team you kick it out, and now you got wide open shots. But I'm sitting here in my damn closet on a podcast, and I can recognize that. And Brett Brown is making millions of dollars, and he can't see that.
True.
That's why they're not going nowhere. It's their
Yeah.
coach. Brett Brown is not a good coach. That's bottom line.
Well, I'll give you that 100%. There's nothing to even argue about that. That is 100% fact. Um, I mean, you summed it up. That's it's simple. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. And then Aaron Gordon. Aaron Gordon, very significant to the Orlando Magic team, but Orlando Magic is not a very significant team. They're not really going anywhere, but this does affect them because he is one of the best players on the team. He's not the best player. At one point, we all thought he was, but it's Vucevic. It's hands down Vucevic. Aaron Gordon is the most talented, but he's not the best player. But him being hurt does hurt them because they don't have a lot of talent on the team in the first place. What are the implications for Orlando Magic going forward?
Well, Aaron Gordon definitely is a big hit. Also, they took two big hits. Now that I think about it, they lost Jonathan Isaac too. Jonathan Isaac just coming back. He ended up tearing his ACL. Why was he in that game at that point? I have no idea because it was already a blowout. They were winning. I don't even know when you got a guy coming back from a knee injury. He's just coming back, getting his legs back under him and stuff. Why you would still have him in a game when it's already decided? I have no idea. Just wanted to put that out there. But I think the Magic, if you watched the first couple of games with Jonathan Isaac back, they were playing well. They actually looked really good. Jonathan Isaac had a great game. Aaron Gordon was playing well. Fournier played well. They look good. I'm like, okay, they might be able to sneak they're in the East. So I'm like, they might be able to sneak their way into the playoffs and make some noise, the way they look. And we all know what Vucevic can do. But after the Jonathan Isaac injury and then Aaron Gordon off of that, I'm like, oh, they're done. I wouldn't. They're going to make it to the playoffs, but they'll get swept in the first round by whoever they play. They just don't have enough.
Yeah, and that's probably going to happen anyway. But it would just make it a tougher match because they have a good defense.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Jonathan Isaac, man. Jonathan Isaac can shut down a number one player, and when we saw at the beginning of the year before he got hurt, when he's playing on, Orlando can look pretty good, man. But you lose him. I think Jonathan Isaac, like you were saying, the best player on the team, he had the potential to be that. He's young. I think this is what his second, third year. But with his versatility, his offense took it to another level. He could actually be the best player on that team, along with Vucevic.
Who he reminds me of? He reminds me of Jimmy Butler.
Yeah. Very good comparison.
Not highly touted as a pick. Came into the league known for his defense, turned himself into an offensive threat. That's exactly what Jimmy Butler did, and that's exactly the path that Jonathan Isaac is going. People know about his defense, but now he's starting to show you that he can play offense. I just hope that his injuries are not going to limit his potential to have a great career and be a great player. But outside of that, we don't have that much time left, so we're going to jump into some daily fantasy. So these picks we're going to give you are for tomorrow, Monday. We drop on Monday, but we record on Sunday. So these picks are from Monday's slate. Stay tuned. We do plan to start having shows throughout the week at some point to give you more fantasy advice. These shows are going to be between 15 and 30 minutes, real quick hitters, just to give you that opportunity to hear what we have to say and make picks. We've both been playing fantasy. We've been doing, have good nights, bad nights, but that's the nature of the beast. So Lonnie, go ahead. What's your core picks and value picks for tomorrow?
My core picks, first core pick is going to be Chris Paul. I like Chris Paul. I like the matchup against the Suns with Ricky Rubio. I think that's a great matchup. Another matchup that I also like is Anthony Davis against the Nuggets. I think that's also a great pick. I don't think the Nuggets really have anybody that can guard Anthony Davis, and we know Jokic won't. Well, there's nobody that can guard Anthony Davis. Another great pick that I love is Kyle Lowry against the Bucks. I love Kyle Lowry against the Bucks. A lot of people don't realize, but the Bucks, even though they're the best defensive team in the league, they struggle against point guards. A lot of people don't really realize that, but they don't play great against point guards. And Eric Bledsoe's back, which it gives me more incentive to pick him because he's just not great on defense. The last player I have as far as my core, my fourth, is Bam Adebayo against the Pacers. I don't think there's Miles Turner, but not a great defensive player. I think Bam Adebayo can definitely dominate in that game. I think that can be a big game for him. As far as a couple of value plays that I like Mike Conley against the Dallas Mavericks. I think that can be a good pick. We know Dallas don't really play good defense. They're not great at that. Mike Conley has actually been playing very, very well here lately. For the Heat, another two value plays that I like for the Heat is Duncan Robinson, also Tyler Hero. And of course those two picks are based on if Jimmy Butler plays or not. He's been out the last two games. So depending on if he plays or not, I definitely like Tyler Hero and also Duncan Robinson as some value picks that you're looking for in your lineup. And my last value pick that I mentioned a little earlier in the show, Quinn Cook. I think Quinn Cook's going to start getting more minutes. And I think that's somebody that you pay attention to against the Nuggets. I think he can be a good value pick.
Cool. For me, I agree with you on Chris Paul. He's also one of my core players. He's been lighting it up. I really like how he's been playing, so I'm definitely gonna have some shares of him in my lineups. Devin Booker has been killing it. People are not talking about the Suns enough. I think there's only one. I think they're the only undefeated team in the bubble. Toronto was undefeated until they lost to the Celtics the other day, and Indiana was undefeated until they lost to the Suns the other day. So Devin Booker's been killing. He did it again last night. Played a hell of a game, and he's leading that team. He's doing it. So definitely Devin Booker for me. T.J. Warren last night solidified it for me against the Lakers. He put up 30 points again. I think he had 34, and whatever this is he's doing, I think is legit. So T.J. Warren, for me, is a core player because he's still around that $7,000 range. He went up to 88 a couple of days ago. And when we talk about prices, we talk about FanDuel people. We do FanDuel, sometimes DraftKings, but for the most part, we FanDuel players. So his price went up to 88, but it went back down to 78, probably because he was playing against the Lakers. But he showed you that he deserves to be an $8,000 player. So definitely he's in my core. And Michael Porter Jr., another one. 4 games, you know, 3 games straight with 30, and then his last game with about 23, 24. He's had 45 to 50 fantasy points, 4 games straight. He is the truth. Now, you may want to look at that. Yesterday I was a little worried because Jamal Murray was back, and I didn't expect him to play 30 minutes his first game back after missing all these games. Michael Porter Jr. still had 47 fantasy points, 46 or 47 fantasy points. So this is not a fluke. This one player is real. And some value, I'm with you on Tyler Hero. Now, for me, Tyler Hero is a value play even with Jimmy Butler because before Jimmy Butler sat out, he was still getting about a good 20 minutes, and he's putting up like 20, 22, 23 fantasy points. Somebody who has the ball handles that he has, the ball skills, he rebounds, he assists, he shoots the ball well. In 20 to 25 minutes, he's going to get that with Jimmy Butler. He can still do damage for that $4,000 price, $4,500 price, which went up. He was 3,700, so he may go back down. So pay attention to that. If Jimmy Butler comes back, he may go back down. And then Cam Johnson for the Phoenix Suns. This kid is amazing. I'm gonna be honest with you. I slept on him. I didn't realize he was as good as he was. I didn't realize he was as highly picked as he was either. He was their first pick. I think he was the 9th pick overall last draft, and I can see why. This kid plays defense. He can shoot. He can create his own shot. He is an excellent player. Kelly Oubre, you better get healthy soon because Cam Johnson is about to take your spot, and he's younger.
Maybe
and
already
cheaper.
have.
Exactly, he's younger, he's cheaper. So Cam Johnson, he's still cheap. He's around he's 4,500 the other day. He may be around the same because his game fantasy wise was average. It wasn't great, but he's put up a couple of 30-pointers. He's playing 36, 37, 38 minutes tonight. So those are my picks. Lonnie gave you your picks. If you're playing daily fantasy, good luck. Hope you win some money. It's enough room for everybody to eat. No hate here. You got anything else you want to say, cuz?
One more thing. Everybody keep an eye on if Jimmy Butler does play. Because I want you to understand Jimmy Butler and T.J. Warren had a little beef with Jimmy Butler saying he didn't belong on the same court as him and stuff like that. So keep an eye on if Jimmy Butler play. I think he's already, don't get me wrong, T.J. Warren is already a must play, but if Butler on that court, you better have him in your lineup because he's going to come out with something to prove after the stuff that Jimmy Butler said about him. I just wanted to throw that out there.
You might want to stack that too.
Yes, sir.
Play run it back.
Both of them.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, that's all we got for today. Y'all have a good day. This is Hold This L. I am Cappel.
And I'm Lonnie.
And we out.